Hey folks, it's Tony here at Harrisonburg Hyundai, and you probably see it now peeking to my right. It's the newly refreshed 2024 Hyundai Sonata in transmission blue. Let's check it out. Hyundai first introduced the Sonata in 1985. Now we fast forward 8 generations here to 2024, and we see something that's drastically different than what we saw when the Sonata was refreshed in 2020. Now we have what we can see as a more aggressive, more restyled, and highly sophisticated Sonata. Hyundai's also done something that they've never offered on that Sonata platform, and that's with their H-track systems. We'll get to a little bit more of that later. But the biggest thing is what we've seen now through 8 generations is, again, the most futuristic Sonata yet with this aggressive facelift. Hyundai keeps it simple. They offer 3 packages on your gas models and 2 on the hybrid platforms. The biggest difference here is the engine. Standard now across the gas model lineup will be a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. When you move it to that big inline now, the top dog for 2024, you get that turbocharged 2.5 liter engine putting out 290 horsepower. Now across the standard platform, the SE and your SELs will come standard now with the 191 horsepower on the Sonata. And one of the most exciting things besides the new facelift for 2024 is that you can purchase your new Sonata with the optional H-track system. For the first time ever now, you can get a Sonata in all-wheel drive. We almost forget that this Sonata for 2024, it's still the 8th generation model after this drastic redesign. So it's no bigger, it's no wider, it's no longer, same dimensions. They just cleaned it up in the front and the rear. Speaking of the front now, we see something very similar across that model lineup that we saw with the new redesigned Elantra and the Kona. We have the LED light bar going across the top there. We no longer have that running light bar that kind of flowed down the seams, down the hips of the vehicle. They've done away with that, and in place now we have this front bar. Also, when you notice the headlights have been lowered down, they've been pushed down now, offers better visibility, wider visibility, and taller visibility now for the driver. Also that front grille, no more amphibian style catfish front end, that's gone. We have an aggressive, cleaned up, and how Hyundai calls it, a sensuous but yet sportiness front end. We have that stamped Hyundai emblem in the hood of the vehicle, just like that mimics the Elantra, the Konas, and the other model lineups now for 24. Again, moving down, this wide functioning grille, functioning side vents and corner vents at the bottom that lead around the headlight lamp design. And also the same kind of space matte aluminum finish we have with the emblems that are stamped on the hood. It also wraps around that grille. Hyundai's take some of the same cues that we had with the Santa Fe and kind of readjusting space. In the front of the Sonata now, you'll really see how it's not that long kind of flat front end. It's a little bit bulky, a little bit more aggressive now, has a better wide body presence here on the fenders, but especially moving down to the side. You have this kind of front splitter that shoots over to the side now, wraps all the way down that side profile of the Sonata, and it gives this side skirt now great depth and characteristics that we didn't have on that last model. Not generation, just the last model. Moving up now, we have this nice fender emblem, which again adds that level of sophistication that we had with the Sonata that we kind of didn't have before, but now we do with that sporty kind of feel and twang to it. We still have those same kind of midlines that we loved when we first got the 8th generation introduced to us, but they've added some of those parametric designs, those polyagonal designs now in the rear, and especially down at the lower fenders. You'll notice around the fender wells now, it's a little bit more pronounced. So again, that wide body presence is really felt, but it makes the vehicle look a little wider and a little bit taller as well. Now, just like how Hyundai made it easy for 24 and they condensed the packages, they also condensed the wheel packages. On the SEO model, you'll have a 17-inch standard wheel. When you move up to that SEO convenience package, you'll get a crisp cut 18-inch alloy finish. Now your inline, the top dog will have that 19-inch super aggressive sporty wheel that'll be wrapped in a very aggressive sport tire also. When you jump to the hybrid segment, you'll have a standard 17-inch wheel with a nice clean finish. In the rear of the newly refreshed Sonata, we see some big changes like we saw in the front. The most notable now, we have this kind of traditional, almost trademark taillight design that Hyundai is offering across their model lineup, that H-design taillight, just like the Elantra has. We no longer have that kind of clamp C design light that really blocked off your rear end. More of a boxy design now with this kind of cascading kind of metal finish in the center there that's encased with that Hyundai emblem. Moving down, my favorite lettering design now across any manufacturing layout is how Hyundai has done the Sonata kind of lettering design. It's very futuristic and very spacey with how clean and minimalistic it is. Down here, we have that space gray finish, just like we had with the lettering and the emblem that wraps, again, those diffusers, keeps that all encased. The most notable finish in the rear is this side vent. Again, this Sonata looks a lot wider and taller than it is, but it's just these subtle angles and cues that really give it that presence and play tricks with your eyes. You'll notice no more hidden button release here in the tailgate. We have a physical button that's going to be located right there beside that rear camera. Also now, my favorite feature now with the rear end of the Sonatas is how Hyundai makes that kind of flowing diffuser, that rear end wing that flows right down the deck lid spoiler and out. And plus it's also encased now with that black gloss. Now we mentioned earlier that you don't have that hidden release anymore. You have an actual physical button that's going to be located to the right of your rear camera now. And again, one touch, super smooth opening, assisted opening also. Look at that. 15.6 cubic foot of space here in the rear of the Sonata. The nicest thing is when you look on the edging now, where your brackets are, where the hinges are, everything's covered. There's no raw metal exposed. Hyundai's covered that up. So when your goods back here, your bags, your groceries, everything's gonna be protected and it's not gonna get snagged now on these hinges and these latches. Super good space now wide, but you also have these two handles where you can drop the back seats, 60/40 ability now in your rear. Now you can't drive this newly refreshed Sonata on the outside, so let's jump on the inside and check out some of the new things we have for 24. Thank you for joining me on the inside. As you can see now, the newly refreshed Sonata gets that same beautiful infotainment system that we've seen with the Santa Fe, the Elantra, across that model lineup now, and the Kona. The most notable thing now is how this display sits in the new Sonata. It has that same kind of shelf-like display that we saw with the Santa Fe, where it's kind of just sitting and resting on this platform here. This platform was also redesigned and refreshed. We see that we have the kind of this hatching, the space hatching now, and it's very horizontal with the feel, just like with the vents. Same design with the vents we saw with the Kona, the Elantra now, also with the controls. It's cleaned up now. We don't have a billion buttons, a billion airplane controls that to change the temperature, things like that. Super easy, it's super efficient and cleaned up. Also, that center console now, again, super cleaned up. You have a nice little key slot here where you can rest your key. You can also put your smartphone there and it'll stand it up. Massive cup holders and a nice little deep tray with additional USB-C charging outlets that'll be new for 24. And on your higher trim packages like the Inline and the Hybrid Limited, you'll have that wireless phone charging pad there as well. If you're familiar with the early 8th generation Sonatas now, before the refresh, you'll notice that shifter was located right here and it had that shift-by-wire selector indicator. Again, it was kind of ahead of its time, it was fancy, but Hyundai has cleaned it up now in the refresh. We've offered more space here. We have an extension now for your armrest. Now you're wondering, where's the shifter now? How do I put this thing in gear? Just like with the Kona and the Santa Fe now, we see where you have the shifters located on the steering column for 2024 and the refresh. So it does clean up that center console and again offers that sleek presence, that futuristic feel. We see this infotainment system is super cleaned up now. We have physical buttons at the top, like your home, your map indicator right there, one touch away. You also have your media functions where you can cycle between your Bluetooth and other media outlets like satellite radio or even the sounds of nature. Moving over, you have your seek and your track buttons, physical buttons, but we also have physical tune and volume knobs for 2024 in the refresh. When we move down, we have dual climate control indicators, digital output, nice and efficient, nice little tactile sound also, heated seats for your driver and your passenger, and your full digital climate control layout will be right here. And again, super cleaned up, it's very efficient. Now the steering wheel design is gonna have that same feel like we saw first with the Kona, where it almost has that EV feel in the center here. It's very futuristic, it's very simple, but it's also very user-friendly with how your controls are. Your phone controls now gonna be on the right side, and most of your sensing technology will be on the left side. You also have paddle shifters, which will make cycling through this 8-speed transmission a breeze on the highway or around town. You'll still have the very same similar seat design that we saw in the early 8th generation Sonata. As we move up, it still has that same kind of textual layout. It's kind of fancied up now and almost mimics what we've seen with the Elantra, but the overall lumbar design and the headrest design is pretty much the same. When we jump up now, to that big boy in the lineup, that inline Sonata, it's going to get that full Alcantara with that red accent stitching like we also see with the Kona inline models. Now, of course, your backseat passengers are going to wonder how comfortable it is back there, so let's tell them. In the rear of the Refresh 24 Sonata, we have that same presence and spacious feel that we saw with that early 8th generation model. We have this fancy leather feel now on the armrests here, and it's really complemented by that space gray finish now on your controls and on your buttons that flow up to those door handles. Moving down now, your backseat passengers will have 2 USB-C lightning charging ports in the rear, and also nice little cup holders as well. Nicer, taller cabin. And again, I'm a short, stocky guy, but this back seat space is enormous. And if we have taller passengers, this makes it really easy. Now, when you look at the outside of the Sonata, you almost feel like your backseat passengers might lose some space with that fastback design. It's not it at all. It's still a theater layout, but it's how it's designed with these cutouts in the roof. It makes it efficient for everybody. Well, folks, we know it's beautiful. The refresh was highly desirable and much needed, but what is it going to cost you? The SEL model with the transmission blue that we're sitting in now is just over $29,000. Now, the starting MSRP before your destination and handling will be $27,500 for select models. And you move up that model lineup now to the inline, the big dog. It's going to have a starting MSRP of $34,950, and that's going to be before destination and freight. And for your 2 hybrid options now for the 24 Refresh Sonata, your SEL model will have a starting MSRP just over $30,000. And when you move up to that limited model now, it's going to complement the hit of the lineup. You have an MSRP just over $37,000 before destination and handling. Everybody, we hope you enjoyed it now, taking a little bit of time out of your day and following us now inside and out of the newly refreshed Sonata. We always hope to see you in our showroom, but most importantly, we want you to go on this video, like and comment, tell us what you think down below. Give us a little bit of feedback if you currently own a Sonata, what you like and what you don't like versus that. And again, we hope to see you in our showrooms, getting behind the wheel, testing them out and seeing how you like some of the models with the all-wheel drive option. It's Tony here at Harrisonburg Hyundai, guys. Be safe. We'll be seeing y'all soon. Hyundai traction control. LED. That'll be in service in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna just start. Yeah. Just go. All right.
Yeah.
All
All right. So
now we have picked and excuse me. We have
yes, we have.
the vampire. Alrighty. Now, if you're familiar with the original, if you're